I will come up this way. I've got such a quiet voice, I better get closer to the audience. My name is Sandra Pupatello. I come from Windsor. I was the MPP there for 16 years. And when I left politics about a year and a half ago, I had a tough conversation with the Premier then because it was a huge decision for me to leave after that long. The people in Windsor returned me every time. I fought the NDP down there and took the seat from the NDP back in 1995. At that time, it was a sweep that went in the other direction. I learned a lot in opposition. 8 years I spent there. I learned a couple things that are really important right now, like people in opposition actually have good ideas and we need to listen to them. That when you're in opposition, you need to be respected. So today, when we're facing a minority government, I think some of the behavior of the government then has to change to be respectful of the other side, because the people gave us this minority government. There are just 3 things I wanted to tell you about me, and then I think with the Q&A that we're going to have, we're going to get to some specific issues relevant to this region. One is that I want to talk about jobs in the economy. As a cabinet minister for 8 years, I spent 5 of those years as economic development and trade minister. I went around the world selling Ontario. We developed with Jim Brunel and all the Eastern Caucus, and we had lots then, the Eastern Ontario Development Fund. We relied on local voices here to develop a fund that would actually work for regional economic development. I want to do more of that. It doesn't matter what region I'm in, whether it's the North, Southwest, Huron, Bruce, wherever, people are talking about jobs. I want to restart that conversation as I move in and hopefully win this leadership. The second thing is I'm the daughter of immigrants. I grew up 2 blocks away from Little Italy in Windsor. And when you know where people come from, you sort of get some of the characteristic of where they come from. I grew up in a modest home. My parents both worked for a living. We always had the same amount set aside for groceries that week. It's important that people know that the leader of your party and the Premier understands the value of $1. And right now, we have to be in a position to go back to the public and say, I'm going to earn your trust again with your money. Because we've had a tough year. And we had better be prepared to go to the public and re-earn that trust. Because we've had lots of issues this year, and it's been very tough to watch from the outside. The third thing I want to say is that what you see is what you get. This way that I've been as an MPP for 16 years worked, even when it's ugly. And right now, the chips are down for the party out here. It's tough. It's tough because we've got a huge deficit that we've got to face and we've got to fix. But we also, I think, need a leader who's prepared to go to people and just give them the straight goods, and that they're going to accept that and want to work with us to fix and find a solution. So what I'm hoping is that right now, at this time, with our party, in the position that our government is in with the general public, they're prepared to accept a leader who's going to be pretty plain speaking, this is the only way that I know how to be, and that they're going to accept that right now. I wasn't part of the government this past year, but I watched as a true, loyal liberal and had a lot of trouble with what was going on. I think we've got to be prepared to go back to the public and say, we get it, we heard. There's a reason that Grant Crack, the only remaining true rural MPP, is supporting me. And Jeff Leal is supporting me. He helped me table our rural policy piece yesterday in Peterborough. So I can talk to people in rural Ontario, but Liberals first, and say, we want you to get involved with us again to help us craft a policy for whenever we end up in an election, which could be soon. I also think our party needs a leader who has some experience crisscrossing the province in an election. If you could choose, you want someone who's done it or not. And the last 2 elections of my 4, I spent very little time in my hometown because it was pretty solid, and I traipsed the province for the Premier to sell Ontario and win that election in 2003 and again in 2007. And there's a reason why so many of you are familiar to me, because I've been around the party a long time and joined the provincial party in 1981. Many provincial councils later that I've seen so many of you come, watched the highs and lows of our party, and learned one really important fact. If you're not the government, you can't implement really good liberal policy. To me, the reason I'm running is because of the potential of an election. and who can win. Don't pit me up against these great people sitting behind me running for leader. Pit me up against Horvath and Hudak, against the NDP and the Conservatives, and ask yourself, when the chips are down, who do you want in your corner? Who do you want that's going to win the election? Because for Liberals, that's what it's going to take. We've got to win so that we can be that centrist Liberal government that's done so much for every part of Ontario. That's the kind of government that I left. That's the kind of government that I want to lead. I hope to support me. Thank you.